Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today we have some news and stories to talk about from across the Division universe. Now, as most of you likely know, we are about to enter into a very busy period here for the Division 2 over the next 2 to 3 weeks. The latest update for the game is dropping this Tuesday, bringing a new season, Project Resolve, all of that stuff. I'll link it up above if you don't know what's going on there. But before we get swept up in all of that, I wanted to make sure I dedicated some time to cover this, because funny enough, in the past few days, there's been some very big news that's come out and some key pieces of information dropping, covering important updates on the Division Resurgence, the Division Heartland, and even the Division 3. So, like I said, I wanted to make sure I gave the time to cover that and let you all know what's going on. So, we'll get right to it, and if you enjoy consistent updates on everything Division like this, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. You know I'll continue doing it over the months to come. And just note that there are timestamps down in the description if you only want to hear about one or a few of these updates. And let us begin with the Division Resurgence. For anyone unaware, this is the upcoming mobile title for the Division that has been in testing for the past year and a half, and it was set to release very soon. In fact, according to Ubisoft's latest statements, it was meant to come out in under 2 months from now, as it was always going to be coming out within their fiscal year 2023, which for them ends on March 31st of any given year. So this thing was set to drop very soon, but as you can see, a few days ago on January 31st, we got an important update that they posted. It was pretty short here, but basically what they're saying, I'll read the important part here, is that they say, "We are pleased to let you know that the game has been approved for distribution in China, and in light of the very positive results from the game's latest live test, we are now planning for a much wider release later this year." And that is the kicker, is that according to this update and pretty much everything else that we've seen going on since they posted this, the Division Resurgence is no longer going to launch within fiscal year 2023. It seems like because of their approval in China, they're now going to kind of gear up for that. They say they're going to make some additional improvements and some further tests with select numbers of users. So that is pretty much the big update, is that the Division Resurgence has been delayed yet again. It was originally going to launch in late 23, then they said early 24, and now according to this it says later this year. That doesn't give us much of a time frame. I would assume maybe summer, maybe fall, but yeah, unfortunately it looks like we're going to be waiting for the Division Resurgence a little bit longer. Now I'll be honest, when I first read this, my initial reaction was, man, Ubisoft is really allergic to releasing games. But in all seriousness, I will always stand by the fact, and I've said this plenty of times before, that a delayed game is better than one that's rushed out. I don't necessarily know if the Division Resurgence would have been rushed. It seemed very complete in that last test, but if they want to take more time to make it even better for when it releases and improve the user experience, I won't complain about that. It does suck that we're going to have to wait later, have to wait more for it to come out, especially given how long we've been waiting for so many of these projects, but it'll get here eventually, and that's the latest on Resurgence. Speaking of long awaited, let's then shift over and talk a little bit about the Division Heartland. Now, if you spend any significant amount of time on Twitter, you may have seen from various Division people in the community that there has been many just nonstop tagging Redstorm asking, what is going on with the Division Heartland? Can we get an update on the Division Heartland? Now look, I respect the attempts. Normally, developers don't really have any autonomy in that regard. It's all up to Ubisoft corporate and marketing when they get to talk about these big next updates on the games. But I had also begun to see a lot of rhetoric going around from people saying that the game is likely canceled, given the more perilous state of not just Ubisoft, but also, the games industry in general. And so I just wanted to quickly cover this short update that we got from Carrie, who, if you don't know, is the community developer on the Division Heartland over at Redstorm. Somebody asked, any thoughts on Heartland? And she said, I'm super hype about it, and I can't wait for everyone to see the work the team is putting in. So, of course, this does not give us really any much of a clear picture of when we're next going to hear about the game in an official capacity, but hopefully this helps quell the rumors and speculation that the game has been canceled. I stand by my speculation that I've been giving for a little while now, that I think the next time we will officially hear an update from Redstorm about the Division Heartland will be at a Division Day this year if we get one, so in the next 2 to 3 months here. And we'll see what they say. There's been a lot of, speculation and thoughts going into why they've been silent for so long, and all I can really say is there's probably a reason for that we will likely find out later on down the line. Alright, now let's get to some quite exciting stuff, moving on from those two things, talking about the Division 3. Now, quick recap for anybody who's been out of the loop. The Division 3 was confirmed to be something that Ubisoft has greenlit. Massive tweeted about it back in September of 2023. And what they said at the time was that they are assembling a team for it. Behind the scenes, what we know is that the main blocker that is preventing the Division 3 from going into full production and development is Star Wars Outlaws. This is the other big game that is in development right now at Massive Entertainment, creators of the Division, and the majority of the Division 1 and 2's core team and people have transitioned over to that project several years ago, and so until that is out, it is not expected that major work is going to begin on the Division 3 because those people are likely going to come back and get involved within the Division 3. So yeah, the big question has been, when will Outlaws release? They gave it a 2024 date last year, but didn't give us any more specifics. However, we now seem to have one, and it's sooner than myself and I think a lot of people were expecting. So this is a tweet here from JorRaptor, who is a creator over on YouTube. He said, "It looks like Star Wars Outlaws might be coming out earlier than expected. Ubisoft is targeting a May release right now, which would be great as May is still empty in terms of releases. We'll do an investor call soon, so we might hear more." And then he says, "This is according to Tom Henderson, who clarified the internal target from Ubisoft." Now, if you don't know, Tom Henderson is a pretty reputable leaker and just kind of industry insider that gives a lot of his thoughts and reports and stories here on Twitter. He also started Insider Gaming here, which is a site that does a bunch of news stories about stuff like this. And you can see in this wider Ubisoft article that was released recently, it says, "Despite the hardship that Ubisoft continues to face, the company does have one of its best lineups of games in recent memory. If there are no further delays, Ubisoft has 2 major releases planned for this year: Star Wars Outlaws first half of 2024 and Assassin's Creed Codename Red second half of 24. Now, before we talk about the excitement of the idea of Outlaws coming out, in the next few months here, 2 major things to say. One, as Tom says right here, if there are no further delays, things can always change with this stuff, so don't think that this is, confirmed that it's coming out in May. And 2, none of this information has been released publicly by Ubisoft, so until that does happen, this is all speculation, and, you have to take it with a grain of salt. That said, Tom does usually have pretty good sources and information from what I've seen, not 100% of the time, so like I said, take it with a grain of salt, but it would seem pretty likely that at least internally they're trying to target a May release right now for Star Wars Outlaws. And as I said before, that is both surprising and exciting. I personally was predicting and guessing that Outlaws was going to come out around like the October-November time slot of this year. But if this holds true, if they get Outlaws out the door in May, that means that within, let's say, 4 months' time, we could see very heavy pre-production, if not full production, officially begin on the Division 3. And that is really exciting to think about. There's been a lot of question about who exactly is going to fill in certain roles on this production team, who might move on to other stuff. There's been a lot of questions about if any of the top people at Avatar who used to have some connection to the Division might have already moved over to Division 3, given that ship back in December. And I suppose we can talk about that another day. But the bottom line here is that there is, credible evidence here to suggest that Star Wars Outlaws could be releasing a lot sooner than we expected. And if that happens, that does pretty dramatically push up the timeline for what a lot of us were expecting on when the Division 3 could begin. So that's pretty exciting. But my friends, those are all the updates I have for you today regarding the wider Division universe. Talking about Resurgence's updated release timeline, talking about the brief little update we got on Heartland, and how Division 3 could be going into production a lot sooner than expected. So, now that you have all the information, I want to hear your thoughts, whatever stories and pieces of news here that you find the most interesting. Certainly let me know your thoughts down below. And now that this is all out of the way, get ready because we're about to head into a big Division 2 swing with the new update coming out this week. There's going to be a ton of stuff to go over. Can't wait, and I hope you'll join me for it. That is going to do it for me today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Out.